Welcome back to the Convo Couch. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Craig Jardula. They call me Pasta, and on Johnny Sue is on the ones and twos. And with us, we have our counselor, our lawyer, our friend in Fort Lauderdale, Michael Santucci. How you doing today, Michael?
How are you, Pasta?
Doing good, but it seems like we just can't get away from this Epstein story. Every day there's something new that happens or something comes up. And today we have an interesting issue to talk about when it comes to Mr. Epstein, his will. Am I right?
Yes, it was just obtained by my partner last night in the middle of, yesterday afternoon, your time, in the middle of our show yesterday. And mainstream media started reporting on it first thing in the morning when I woke up here Eastern Standard Time. So some interesting stuff in there.
Yeah, you told me that they're leaving out a lot of stuff, but let's unpack it from the get-go. The macro. Jeffrey Epstein died, but 2 days before his death, his suicide, or whatever happened, he signed a new will, correct?
Amazingly, yes, 2 days before his death, he signed a new will.
Does that mean, is there some automatic red flags that come up? And if there are red flags, what are they?
It is a red flag, but it is also very common. People start thinking of last minute issues when they feel they're on their deathbed. The red flags usually are cause for someone challenging the will because they feel there was some undue influence on the person who made the will just days before their death. And in the standard situation, it might be some family member that's at the bedside that was with the person for the last week of their life, and they hadn't seen them for 10 years before that. And all of a sudden, the will is changed and it goes everything goes to this one person. That's like an undue influence thing. Situation, but it is common for people to either make a will or change a will shortly before their death. It could be a sign that he knew something was coming.
Now, I'm so sorry. This is one of your areas of expertise. I just want to make sure when you said it's common for people to change a will and you paint this picture of somebody being on the bedside for the last, week of the person's death, but they hadn't been around in 10 years. It's somewhat common for that person to change the will and give the money or the estate or the trust in this matter to that person. Am I right?
Yes, but what's strange here is he also created the trust, it looks like, on the same day.
Let's explain that.
So he signs a will. A bunch of people come into the prison because he needed two witnesses. Two witnesses signed the will. A notary to notarize and verify the signatures of Epstein and the two witnesses. So right there, three people at least had to come in to visit him. Probably an attorney, knowing him was more than one attorney. So he had all these people pay him a visit 2 days before his death. And the will says that basically all of the assets, but for a fee for the two executors, goes to a trust that he just created that same day. So it's like an asset protection mechanism that he put into place 2 days before he's found in his cell dead.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Protection. So when it comes to the trust, forming a trust, you as a lawyer, I think you've mentioned before, and you can mention again to the audience, it's a way for the person to protect the assets from getting sued from other lawyers. In other words, forming a trust would help people he wants to give the money to or wants to give the wealth to from victims coming back and suing. Correct? Is that what the trust does?
It would protect it from that and any creditors. Now, there are ways to break a trust and get into it, but that is a very common asset protection technique that people that have assets to protect employ. And that could be, protection against lawsuits, protection against debts. So
we talk about lawsuits because I think the real victims, themselves, they have a chance that they will get shut out of some compensation now, correct?
It's going to be harder to get at because his money is not going to be sitting in a bank account. It's, going to go to a trust unless somebody does something to stop it. He did open up a probate proceeding just in the last few days to probate. Well, not him, but someone on his behalf, probably the executors.
What does that mean?
And, if I have the document in front of me, I could be a lot more helpful. Let me call Tammy.
Yeah, get Tammy in here.
Tammy!
Yes.
Can I get the Epstein will and everything attached to it?
Let me get that together. I'll bring it right in.
Our audience, they love Tammy. They love Tammy. Audience, make sure we let Tammy hear it when she comes in with the will, because we love her.
Is that what Joe said?
Oh, that's what I said.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Just saying.
We've got a team of lawyers weighing in on this right now, as you know. So.
No, I mean, you guys keep committing more and more of your resources to this, which tells me that this is very interesting to you guys, too, as well. You know, it's just not just a walk in the park type of case. Really quickly, let me just ask. So the trust is set up. It's harder to get out. I noticed that inside the will, he also put that everything goes through the Virgin Islands. Is that correct? Like the assets and the trust itself? Hey, Tammy's here, everybody. Sherry Smith, Brett Fairchild. They all say, hi, Tammy. We love you.
Hi, all.
Hi, Tammy.
She does great work.
She does. That's the trust.
Testament of Jeffrey Epstein. That's what.
And we have the papers up on your website, and we've done
today.
Made it been. So talk about the Virgin Islands. Somebody mentioned, I believe, a writer in the Sun Sentinel mentioned that if the trust is in the Virgin Isles, that we have to go through Virgin Isle laws. Now, I've showed on this show a lot of connections with Epstein, the Clinton Foundation, the Clinton Initiative, old Obama bundlers, all these financial connections, even the governor in the Virgin Islands. Is this going to be another hurdle to jump over since it's going through the Virgin Isles as opposed to New York, where he said he was a resident of?
Yes. Unless somebody stops the assets from going to the trust before they get there. And then wherever these assets may be, that's where they'll stay.
How can they stop it?
By filing a motion in the probate court to stay the proceedings, to halt all transfers of assets. So this probate was initiated, this probate proceeding was initiated just a few days ago. I'll get you the exact date that when the petition was filed. That's the document, the petition for probate and for letters testamentary. That's usually the document that opens up the probate case. It was only filed August 15th. And then the will was filed in that case, and that's where my partner got it. But it says that the trust was created on August 8th. So
everything's new. So this is a man who either knew he was going to die, be killed, or fake his death, and therefore he put everything into position to protect his assets.
Yeah, another interpretation could be just that he knew lawsuits were going to come out of the woodwork. I mean, he already had lawsuits up the kazoo, but maybe with the new media attention with the new case that was opened against him in July, he did that to protect himself from those lawsuits, potentially not thinking he was going to be killed or kill himself. So that is another interpretation. But you're correct. It also could be what you said as well. He knew he was going to kill himself, or knew that the Grim Reaper was coming for him in some way.
Yeah.
And he did this before that happened.
Well, you also said that when the people go to wills, they get a little antsy, they get a little jittery. Something's happened to make them go to do that will, whether they want to get money to somebody else or they're just kind of losing it maybe. Can somebody contest the will? Can the lawyers of the victims or somebody contest the will, the fact that it was made 2 days before he was dead and said that he was under a lot of stress, and somehow void this will and go back to his original will?
That is a good question. Conceivably, yes. I don't know enough about New York probate law sitting here at the moment. I could get that question answered as to who has standing to contest a will. I'd imagine it's pretty broad. I'd imagine it's anyone who's a potential heir or somebody that potentially is owed something from the estate.
So a potential victim, maybe.
It's possible. I don't know. Again, that's an issue, a specific issue of New York law. Probate law is state by state. So,
well, here's another question for you, Treasure. We're regime change specialists on this network over here. We talk a lot about sanctions. And just recently, the Donald Trump administration, they imposed new sanctions on Venezuela. Now, the old sanctions that passed is they were able to seize all of Maduro's gold. Why can't we just seize all of Epstein's finances right now? Can Donald Trump or somebody come in and seize these assets until we get everything worked out? Therefore, the victims, the potential victims, and there are so many of them in this situation, we can seize his assets until they maybe get their fair day in court?
Well, because Maduro is not a United States citizen, and he is, some would call him a hostile actor or an adversary. I don't think Venezuela is an adversary, but it's a little different than a United States citizen. But the judge, if given good cause, could at least put a hold and a freeze on all assets and not allow them to transfer to the trust until all arguments are heard. That the purpose of this probate proceeding opening up is so the assets can be distributed as per a will. So that's what the judge's job in this probate proceeding is. That's what that judge is supposed to do. So that's not done yet. This was just opened up. It doesn't happen that quickly. So right now, those assets are really still where they're at. They're not going to transfer in a matter of days. And the more third parties enter appearances in this case to either challenge the will or to ask for the court to act in some way, the more it's going to muck this up and delay it. So at the moment, the assets are not in the trust. They're still wherever we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
So.
Could this be a move, possibly, from Epstein's lawyers and the possible beneficiaries of the trust making a statement to any new potential victims coming forward? Because I saw something that a statement was made where they're trying to disenfranchise and scare any new people from coming forward, letting them know right off the bat it's going to be hard to get any of his assets down the road, that being Jeffrey Epstein.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the reason they're going to be hard to get is because of asset protection strategies like this. Plus, they have to win these lawsuits and get judgments for sexual battery or assault. There are civil claims that not just criminal, but you can also sue civilly for battery or assault for money. And they have to win the cases, get judgments, and then go collect wherever his assets are. And by the way, I stand corrected. This says the decedent Jeffrey Epstein died testate, meaning with a will, on August 10th, 2019 in New York, and was domiciled in and a resident of St. Thomas Virgin Islands. So he claims residency and residency in the Virgin Islands. So he probably, and I didn't check this, but he probably still maintains his U.S. citizenship, and that's where he gets, until he died, he had all these privacy rights. And
so, what about all the stock in all these other companies? We see Cypress Inc., Laurel Inc., Maple Inc.
He formed an entity, and this is not strange. He formed a different entity for each major property he owned, and all of his assets that at least are claimed by his executors, the executors of the will, are right here on this page. And he has a separate company for each property. The New York City mansion is from Maple Inc. Cypress Inc. owns the
New Mexico.
New Mexico. I mean, you can go down the list.
But look at the 999 shares of SCIJEP, a French company, which is located in France. I've said this before, that he's had some funny business in Vive la France. Even though France is another country, and I know we're subject to their laws, when will the FBI or the DOJ be able to get over to France and unveil some stuff? Or will the French government try to keep that concealed because they have people who might not want to be leaked out?
I mean, the FBI can do that as quickly as they can get on a plane and fly to France, but I would think that they would need some cooperation from the French authorities to allow them in. But he had, here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different units in a building in Paris. And that's what that company, SCIJEP, owns. And it's a French company. And
my Lord. How many models? How many? It's second floor, 7 places. Oh, no. I can only imagine. And cellars in the basement. Hopefully they were just wine in those cellars.
Yeah.
My Lord. But anything else unusual you want to point out to the audience about this? Because we kind of looked into some of the people. The one person we found a little bit confusing was Boris Nikolic. And he even said today, and he was an ex-Bill Gates advisor, that he was shocked that his name was on that will, and he has no plans to go through with carrying out what Jeffrey Epstein wanted with this will.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he is the backup executor. The executor will, their job is to distribute the assets of the deceased as per their will or as per probate laws. Here we have a will. So he named two co-executors. One is named Darren Indike, and the other is Richard Kahn. But it says if they were unable or unwilling to serve, then he appoints as a backup Boris Nikolic. And each executor will get a fee of $250,000 for performing their services as executor of the will. And that's a nice chunk of change, but given the value of the estate is at more than $500 million, I think he was a little cheap. He could have done a little.
Not only,
no?
Not only was Jeffrey Epstein a pedophile, he was also dirt cheap, but he knew a way. Listen, he used money as a tool. He understood that $300 to a young girl, a broken girl in Florida, was a lot of money, and that he can entice them. He didn't want to give them all in one time, but man, this is crazy stuff. Is there anything else you want to unpack before we get on out of here, sir? I'm going to hand it over to Johnny in a second.
Yeah, I mean, we could name a few other people. The notary, her name was Marlana Melendez, the New York, notary. She apparently had to be in the prison to notarize those signatures. She could be a prison notary that works at the prison, or she could have worked at a firm.
I advise all these people, and if anybody's good at searching stuff, I know a lot of people want to cherry pick some of the paperwork. We'll have all the paperwork up on your website. Am I right? What's the website again?
It actually might be up now, 500law.com. And if you find us on Facebook, it's at Santucci Priori PL, PL, P as in private, L as in law. Santucci Priori PL. This will is already on our Facebook. There's a link to it. And the other documents are up. They are on 500law.com right now. Scroll down to the bottom of the homepage, and it's the top blog article. You'll have to read a couple of words I wrote, but there's a link to download all of the documents.
Yeah. We got it up there, buddy.
Yeah, you will need
a picture of you and your handsome partner up in that beautiful suite over there in Fort Lauderdale, but you guys are working it, and you're working it hard. Somebody, White Rabbit, put whitehouse.gov, executive order blocking property persons involved in serious human rights abuse, corruption. So I think that we should be anticipating a move or a statement from Mr. Donald Trump on what he plans to do on this. If he plans to block the assets or something, we shall see. Mm-hmm. We shall see. Johnny, you got anything else on the will? Well, Mike, Thursday we have our interview about, we're going to talk about fair use, the fair use doctrine, public domain, all that good stuff. But if you get anything else, or if somebody else dies tonight, we might have to do this tomorrow again. So I thank you for bringing all of this information and going through the will. Anything else to add before we get on out with you, buddy?
Just that our team will stay on this case, and I look forward to talking about what I know a whole lot more about, and that's copyright law and fair use and intellectual property. So, see you Thursday.
We want to make sure you also take care of Tammy. She's liked by a lot of people here, so we need you to buy Tammy lunch tomorrow, okay, buddy?
Deal.
You got it. All right, Michael. We're going to, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. That's Michael Santucci, attorney at law, our crackerjack guy on the scene. He's also going to help us out because he's in the backyard in West Palm Beach. He's actually in Fort Lauderdale, so we know a lot of the people involved. And if you haven't watched any of our videos, he breaks it down. We have several ones in the queue. We're going to be back in about a half hour to talk about the Ghislaine Maxwell in and out picture. I really blew it off, but Johnny went down the rabbit hole, and we've come up with some crazy, crazy interesting stuff. So join us back here in a half hour. We'll be breaking down the Ghislaine Maxwell in and out picture. Was she there? Was she not there? And a lot of other connecting dots and pieces to this story that continues to just get crazier and crazier every day. For Pasta Jardula, Johnny Tsunami.
We're going to do some shout-outs real quick.
Oh, yes. Shout-outs from Johnny.
Steve Wolf Brandt. I see you on the Facebook. I see Super Progressives, Terry Q, White Rabbit, Digital Graffiti. I saw Ron Burgundy, Michael Cruz, Westfield Slots, California Pickin', Allison Irwin, Barry Strim, SSA0, Steffi31 UK, One Wasqually Wabbit.
We have a lot of Wascally Wabbits out there. We want to thank you guys tuning on in. Come on back in a half hour. We got more stuff to talk about. The Epstein report continues on the Convo Couch.
And Derek Choco. We'll see you. Peace. We'll be on in 30 minutes.